So, although this is Super Bowl week, it is the greatest sports week in a lot of people's minds. The actual greatest sports week is probably the World Cup final, the lead up to the World Cup final, the month of football. That is the greatest sports spectacle on the world. So, before we get to the Super Bowl talk, the NFL talk, we got to talk about the Super Bowl. Before we get to the Super Bowl talk, we got to talk about the World Cup news that dropped this past weekend. And New York got announced as the site for the World Cup final. It was said to be between Dallas, Inglewood, LA, SoFi Stadium, and New York. SoFi Stadium and the owner, Kroenke, I believe, had their whole, I'm not going to change my field for you dilemma. So they kind of fell out. It kind of came down to Dallas versus Meadowlands versus New York. In the end, New York gets it. Am I happy about this? I mean, I don't know. I have been to New York. Thankfully, I was able to go last year. I was able to go in January for the winter, and then I was able to go in August for the U.S. Open. So I do know, it's going to be a little earlier than August. It's going to be in July, the final. So it's not going to be the same weather as when I went in August for the U.S. Open, but it'll be similar. And it could get a little ugly. It could get a little ugly. It could get a little humid. It could get a little nasty in there in the New York summers. So would I have preferred to been in Dallas, although it would have been hot too, in an indoor stadium, weather controlled, indoors, roof over your head? Probably. But I mean, I understand why New York gets it. It's like New York, the Big Apple. It's like the biggest city in the world. A lot of people, that's what they think of in the US. They think of New York and Hollywood, LA. I think it's the two things that most people think of when they think of the US. I don't think a lot of people think about Dallas. The only thing that Dallas had going for it, or Arlington, Texas, was that it's Jerry's World. It's a huge stadium. Jerry Jones had committed to, renovate his stadium. He was going to do a lot of stuff for the World Cup. He was really bidding hard for that final. In the end, New York gets it. I do think they have a better public transit system. It'll hopefully improve even more by the time the World Cup gets here. Hopefully, they clean it up a little bit. They modernize it a little bit. It's better for when the World Cup comes around. But overall, I'm not too upset about the World Cup being in New York. I do think Dallas maybe could have been a little bit better, but New York is fine. I don't have any problem with that. I did wish it was gonna be in LA, so it could be just down the 5 for me. That I currently live in the Bay Area, so I did hope at the beginning that it would be LA, but with all the situations that happened, that fell through pretty quick. But at the very least, Dallas gets a semifinal. Dallas gets the most game out of any stadium in the World Cup. They get 9, I believe. And then there's a couple with 8. Then there's a couple with 7. I think Toronto gets 7. Vancouver gets 6. I want to say Azteca gets 6 as well. Levi Stadium, just down the street, right here in Santa Clara, gets 6. Monterrey gets like 5, I want to say. Akron gets 4 or 5. It's going to be spread out pretty good. Most of the games are going to be in the U.S. Some key dates: June 11th, inaugural game is going to be in the Estadio Azteca. Mexico will be opening the World Cup with their first group stage game. Another one to look out for is July 4th, round of 16 in Philadelphia. That has a lot of people's minds in it. If the U.S. is able to get through the group stages, get through the round of 32, because this will be expanded World Cup. There'll be way more teams in there. I think there's a 48 team field. There will be a round of 32. So if they're able to get to the round of 16, then we could potentially see the U.S. playing on July 4th in Philadelphia. Who wrote that script? That's a beautiful script. We might have to be there. Also, the U.S., the group stage games. Sorry, East Coast, you're getting the final. You're getting the final in New York. You're getting Dallas, which is kind of in the middle. You're getting the third place match, which is in Miami. The other semifinal match is in Atlanta. So you're getting a lot of the later knockout stages. But all 3 of the U.S. group stages games will be on the West Coast. SoFi, Seattle, SoFi. So basically Inglewood, Seattle, Inglewood. If you don't know where Inglewood is, it's pretty much LA. LA, Seattle, LA. Now I know that is upsetting a lot of people because the East Coasters wants to see the U.S. I see the comments, way to alienate the East Coast. But like I said, Philadelphia, round of 16th, July 4th. That's a big game. where potentially the U.S. could be in. That's a big spot. Round of 32, they could potentially be in Kansas City or somewhere else. There's a lot of opportunities for you to catch the U.S. if you're on the East Coast. With the U.S. having a very young team, a lot of nice prospects, a lot of players entering their prime, their peak prime, their physical prime. I'm talking like Reina. I'm talking Pulisic will be like 27 years old at that time, I believe. Des will be like around 26. Reina will probably be like, 25, 24, I believe. So we have a lot of players entering their physical prime. They should definitely get out of the group stage, playing at home with the larger field, meaning that the round of 32 should be a weaker draw compared to the round of 16 earlier in previous World Cups. So to get to the round of 16, like that could potentially happen. So you could potentially have the U.S. play at least 2 East Coast games if they get to the round of 32 and if they win and they get to the round of 16th. So calm down, let us West Coasters have something. All the end of the knockout rounds is going to be in the East Coast. So just be cool, be cool, be cool. As far as Mexico will play in the Estadio Azteca, then they'll play in the Chivas Stadium, Akron, and then they'll play in the Estadio Azteca again. So if you want to follow Mexico, those are the 3 games. Those are the 3 sites of their games. And then potentially, I think I saw that the Mexican Federation is lobbying to get the round of 32 and the round of 16 at the Estadio Azteca as well, if they're able to go through. So that would be very interesting. And it'll be great for my fellow native Mexicans. Sometimes the Mexican Federation doesn't treat you guys right. Mexico does play their World Cup qualification games in the Estadio Azteca, but all these Gold Cup tournaments are in the U.S. These new Copa America tournaments that Mexico gets invited, they're never in Mexico. They're in the U.S. or in South America. So it's a good opportunity. It's good to see the Mexican Federation, maybe forced or maybe by public pressure. I don't know, but whatever it is, all of their matches potentially are going to be played in Mexico, unless they make like the quarterfinals or the semis or maybe even the final. Who knows? But it does seem that if they get at least to the round of 16, all those games should be in Mexico with the home crowd. Although even if they play in the U.S., it should be a home crowd too. But playing in Mexico would probably feel different. I want to be there. I hope I'm there. And as a Mexican American, I do want to go to 1 Mexico game, 1 U.S. game, and then miscellaneous. My goal is to go to 3 games, 3 World Cup games by 2026. Start saving money. Hopefully, no one ever knows what could happen. You could have a tragedy, or you could have an emergency, or you got to fix your car or whatever. But hopefully I'm able to save enough money to go to at least 3 games at the bare minimum. Like if nothing goes right, like at least go to 1 game at SoFi, no matter who it is. Like unfortunately, it won't be Mexico or the U.S., but any game in the World Cup would just be an amazing experience. So si Dios quiere, obviously we would want to be there at the World Cup. The 3 games I've thought about, since we know where Mexico and the U.S. are going to play their group stages games. We don't know anybody else, but those are the 2 teams that I'm interested in seeing. The 3-game schedule that would probably be the easiest to hit up as someone that lives in the West Coast in the Bay Area and wants to see Mexico play. I was thinking game 1, go to the Estadio Azteca. It'll be crazy hard to get tickets, but go to the opening match of the World Cup. That'll be amazing. Estadio Azteca, Mexico inaugural. Get to see the whole ceremony and like damn near festival that is the inaugural game. And then come back to the U.S., recover for a little bit between the matches. Maybe kick it in Mexico for a little bit, experience the World Cup in Mexico. And then go to L.A. to catch the U.S. 3rd group game, and then come back to San Francisco or the Bay Area where I'm living. Who knows if I'll be living here at that time? I probably will, but who knows? But then go to SoFi right here, where close to home or close to where I'm living right now, and that would be pretty. I want to say not hard on the body, not too many flights, not too crazy of travel. Go to Mexico City, have some fun there, come back, maybe go back to San Diego where I'm from, chill there for a little bit, go to LA, catch the US game, the 3rd group stage game, and then catch a round of 32 match at SoFi. and then just call it. Watch the rest of the World Cup at home and just enjoy it. That seems like a good plan. Another scenario that I thought of, these are all hypotheticals. Like, who knows if I'll even get the privilege to go or if I'll even have the money saved up at that point. But it's all just fun to speculate. I want to say everyone that is either Mexican or American or Canadian who knows where their teams are going to play right now is kind of doing the same thing. We're like, man, if I had the money or if I had, if I was able to do this, if I max out the credit card, which you shouldn't do. But if I did, like, which games would I go to? So that was my first scenario. Inaugural game Azteca, third U.S. group game in SoFi, and then round of 32, whoever it is at SoFi, just down the freeway, just down the 101. That would be pretty cool. And then my second scenario would be, because I do want to check out that Monterrey Stadium, which looks crazy, and it'll be sick as fuck to be there for the World Cup, which would be, what was the setup that I thought of? It was Mexico. What was the setup? First game, I think it was first game U.S. at SoFi, which would be June 12th. First U.S. game, first group stage game by the U.S. at SoFi. Go to that June 12th. Then go to Mexico for their third group stage game at the Azteca. And then go to Monterrey for the round of 32. Whichever game lands there, we'll go to that game. That's another one. You get to hit SoFi, which I love SoFi. It's a great stadium, one of the most modern stadiums in the U.S. Then you get to check out the Azteca, and then you get to end with, BBVA. I think it's called BBVA Stadium in Monterrey. That would be amazing. That'd be a great 3 games to go to the World Cup. So that's what I have my eyes on. The other games that, could potentially creep up into my attention would be, and then obviously, am I going to take 2 weeks off at work to get all this done? A month off? Like, we got to see where I'm at with my job too at that point, how many days off I could get. It might have to be where you just schedule them in the weekend and you get like long weekends for these games that you want to go to. So we might have to fix all of this to just go to the games that fall on the weekends. A lot could switch, a lot could change. So we'll see how it goes. But those are the 3 games I'm trying to hit up right now, or the 3 sets of games that I want to go. Inaugural for Mexico, third group game for US at SoFi, and then get the round of 32 at Levi's, or first group stage for the US at SoFi, third group stage for Mexico at Azteca, and then round of 32 in Monterrey for the BBVA Stadium. That's pretty cool. And overall, the US is getting 78 games. Mexico's getting 13, Canada's getting 13, so very, very USA heavy. Mexico and Canada, they should get all their group stages games in their respective countries. And it does look like they'll get like their first or second knockout game in their country too. So that'll be exciting. Very exciting stuff. Like I said, I know it's Super Bowl week and everybody wants to talk Super Bowl, but World Cup news just dropped, so we got to talk about that first. And, we got it out the way. Very excited for the World Cup. We're still 2 years away. But, start saving your coins. Start saving your chickens. Take care of your chickens. Start saving your coin. Because 2 years will go like that. It'll be 2020 and a 2025 in just a year and 6 months. And I believe that's when the tickets will drop. So, keep saving a little bit of money for the World Cup. We'll get here quicker than you think.